Where is everybody?
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if it's your first time. This is the last of the video breakdowns, analysis, if you like, of the original 156 episodes of the Twilight Zone. The first 5 seasons, curated, mostly written by Rod Serling. The last video. It's the last 9 episodes. And the sad news is that it ends with a proper whimper. I mean, it's a real shame that these last 9 episodes, I think the last 3 episodes are bad episodes, and the rest of them are at best good episodes. There's nothing in these 9 episodes that are some of the best, and some of the ones that are good are sort of similar to something else that has happened before. But it's such a shame that there's 3 genuinely bad episodes. That, you know, if you've been watching these breakdowns of the Twilight Zone, you'll notice that I haven't said it very often. I don't personally think there's many bad ones, but it's a shame that it ends like that. I don't know if that's inevitable, because is that partly related to why it finished? Would it have gone on for more than 5 seasons if that wasn't the case? It's a lot of episodes, so I think it was a good run, but maybe there was a sense that they were running out of ideas. I don't know. There was a very small amount of writers for the show. There's a few exceptions. If you look at the writing credits, most of it's written by 4 or 5 people, mostly Rod Serling. And if Rod Serling felt that he couldn't lead it in the same sort of way because he was running out of ideas, which is possible because some of the ones he wrote in this batch are part of the problem, then maybe that was what made him think it needed to stop and he needed to do another project. I don't know. But it is, anyway, a bit of a shame. But I'm going to go through the episodes, and just because they're not massively brilliant, I will do this quicker probably than previous videos. But I will say if they're worth watching, so it's not that they're all terrible, but this is definitely an aspect of the show now as it's finishing. So the first episode is Ceasar and Me, which is another ventriloquist dummy, ventriloquist entertainer story, and is written by A.T. Strasfield. And A.T. Strasfield was actually the secretary of the producer, which is really interesting. So she apparently came up to the producer and said, I've got a great idea, or at least I'd like to write an episode. Can I write an episode? And he was like, yeah. And then she came up with this idea, which is similar to a previous episode that had Cliff Robertson as the ventriloquist that's kind of gets taken over by his dummy. That was just called The Dummy. So it is kind of similar, but straight away from the beginning, there's no sort of slow build up to the dummy being sentient, if you like. It's just like that from the beginning. So I guess there's some, it's not completely repeating the original idea, and there's other people in it, and there's a little girl in it that's kind of a catalyst to some of the action. And the big difference is that the dummy makes them commit crimes. So it's an interesting idea, but because the dummy was so good, and because it's kind of better, I think, to do a ventriloquist dummy story with that kind of feel, it's quite disappointing, really. But it's not terrible. And Jackie Cooper plays the ventriloquist, and he's very good. Although he's got this Irish accent all the way through it, which is a little bit off-putting. But yeah, Ceasar and Me is okay. It's okay. Then after that, you've got the Jeopardy Room by Rod Serling. I think this one is the best out of this batch of 9 episodes, the Jeopardy Room, and it's on the border of being brilliant. I don't think it's one of the best, but it's definitely the best one, I think, out of this batch of 9 episodes. The Jeopardy Room its central part is played by Martin Landau, who's coming back to the Twilight Zone after being in one of the early ones. And there's only two other characters in it. And basically he gets confronted by this person that is threatening him. He's like a spy. And but basically there's a booby trap in the room, and he's been told that if he can survive 3 hours without the booby trap going off, then he'll be released freely. And it's a really nice twist at the end, but it's kind of a sci-fi, sorry, not sci-fi, it's a political thriller. And there isn't actually any supernatural or science fiction element to that episode at all. And there's only one episode like that at this point, called The Silence, which was one of the best. That's an amazing episode, The Silence. So Martin Landau's very good in it, and the twist is good. So after that, you've got Stopover in a Quiet Town, which is another one written by Earl Hamner Jr. So he's written quite a few of these last ones. He ended up being quite a big focus of the writing towards the end of the run of the show. And the Stopover in a Quiet Town is an interesting episode. Again, it's quite reminiscent of Where Is Everybody, which is what started the whole show. It's this couple that spend the whole time freaking out that everything seems to be really fake, and there's nobody there, there's nobody around, they don't understand what's going on, and then there's a big twist at the end. The twist at the end is quite good, but it seems to just spend forever getting there, and I don't think there's a lot of charisma with the people that are playing it as well. And that's one of the missteps, I think, in these last 9 episodes, that there's the last 5 or 6 episodes, the actors aren't totally gripping you in the same way, I don't think. So yeah, Stopover in a Quiet Town is fine. It's one of those ones that deserves the name of Twilight Zone, but it's not one of the best. It's just fine. It's good, and the twist helps that along. I won't tell you what it is in case you see it, but the twist is quite good. Okay, so the next one is written by William Goldsmith, and it's called The Encounter. This is a really interesting one, and it's one that was taken out of syndication very quickly because it had lots of complaints from Japanese Americans, and it's quite a contentious one. It's an interesting one. It's quite an aggressive one. The script is quite full on in its attack on the racism between an American veteran and a young Japanese guy. So George Takei is obviously from Star Trek, but I'll talk about George Takei in a second. And this is a very simple plot. It's another 2-person episode of Twilight Zone. There's tons of 2-person episodes, so it's almost like a play, theatrical play. But it's got quite a lot of violence in it, and there's a lot of threat of violence in it, and the racism in the American character is really blatant, and it's in the script, and it's quite strong. It's a little bit strange the way it's written. It keeps flipping, like he'll calm down and go, oh, anyway, let's have a cuppa, and then he'll start ranting again, which is really weird. George Takei is brilliant in this. It's really nice to see him, and it's interesting that of all those Star Trek main actors, there's quite a lot of them that are in the Twilight Zone. Leonard Nimoy's got quite a small part in the appearance he makes. James Doohan's got quite a small part in the episode that he's in, and William Shatner has obviously got the main part in 2 very good episodes. But this is a good episode, and George Takei has got a really big part in this, so that's quite nice to see. I always think he's underrated. But yeah, so it's an interesting episode, and it does... it's a very brave episode, I think, because it's talking about something that doesn't necessarily get talked about a lot, and that's the racism against the Japanese in America. So yeah, that's an interesting episode. So the next one is called Mr. Garrity in the Graves, and that's written by Rod Serling. And that's an interesting kind of con man story. It's a Western setting, and the guy basically tells the town that he can resurrect everyone in the cemetery and bring everyone back to life. And slowly they realise they didn't really want these people to come back to life. And he gets lots of money off them, and he kind of proves at the end that it's a con. And there's a little twist. It's quite a good episode, actually. This is another one that's not too bad. If it wasn't for the run of bad episodes at the end, then this would be one of those. This would fit well in a batch of good ones. This is good, and it's quite entertaining, and it's got a great story. The next one is The Brain Center at Whipples, and that's written by Rod Serling as well. This one is a funny one because it's got a really nice idea at the heart of it. It's got a really strong. It's got some strong lines in it. A few good passages of lines in it. It's written by Rod Serling, so he knows how to write. But it's a little bit of a one-note thing. The ending is really predictable. It's about a company that's led by this guy who's obsessed with turning everything into a machine, and he's like laying off people like mad. He's making pretty much the entire company redundant so that this thing called the Brain Center can run the whole company. And then you got this sort of twist that you can see coming from a mile off. There's a guy, the kind of shop steward character is quite likable, but everyone else is a little bit annoying in it. So there's a little bit of a misstep, but it's got good intentions, good heart behind it, and it's not too bad. So then you've got the last 3 episodes, which are bad episodes. The next one, I just couldn't believe it. It was just bizarre. Come Wander With Me, it's called. It's written by Anthony Wilson, who goes on to write some other sort of feature films. But it's just, I've written here, a bizarre fever dream that makes no sense about a musician that runs around confused and shouts a lot and then beats up an old man. I just thought it was just really odd, and I remember watching it years ago and it not affecting me, and then thinking about it again, I thought, oh, maybe it's better than I remember it, but no, it's terrible. So Come Wander With Me, just avoid that one, don't watch it. And the one after that is called The Fear, and that's written by Rod Serling, and that's 2 people scared about what they think is an alien visitation, and they see a huge footprint outside, and it spends 20 odd minutes with them running around arguing with each other but being scared about this alien that might have visited. And there's basically a big twist that's not particularly interesting, and it's just the worst. It's like someone that has written a Twilight Zone like episode that wouldn't have been accepted by Twilight Zone in its best period. So The Fear is not very good. And then the last one, which again is written by Earl Hamner Jr. again, so he writes the last one that was put out. That's The Bewitching Pool. It's a nice idea, The Bewitching Pool. It's about these kids that have got a dysfunctional family, basically. Parents that don't really care about them. They're barking at them all the time. They're barking at each other all the time. They're fighting all the time. And they go into the pool and they end up, the pool kind of acts as a portal to another place where children with bad parents have like this sort of sanctuary. And then there's this woman called Aunt T who looks after them. And they kind of go to this place now and again as a relief from their home life, which is quite a nice idea. And then it's just this really weird scene at the end where the parents very aggressively tell the kids that they're going to get divorced, and they're shouting at them about it. It's really strangely written. I don't think any situation in reality kids would be shouted at like that when they're getting the news that their parents are getting divorced. But anyway, they escape into this pool after hearing that. And just the whole thing I found quite irritating, and the tone of it was weird. The woman who plays Aunt T was really odd. This old woman that looked after the children were really odd. It was just irritating. So yeah, I'd say avoid the Bewitching Pool as well. So yeah, it's a strange situation where a series that is that good, that had such great moments of incredible quality, ends with these episodes that aren't great. But you know, rather than just pick out my 20 favorites or something like that, which I have done I think before, I'm taking every single episode, which means I'm looking at the bad ones as well. And sadly, a lot of these bad ones appear at the end. There are some great moments in season 5, so it's not like season 5 is completely a dud. You know, The Masks and Nightmare at 20,000 Feet are in season 5, so you can't argue with that. But it appears that it was running out of steam. Whether or not season 6 would have been better, and he would have been reinvigorated and got other writers or something, I'm not sure. But he might have kept getting stories from Earl Hamner Jr., who is a little bit patchy. I think that might have been a thing. I don't know. But as it stands, it was 5 seasons, and the 5th season is definitely weaker than the others. And part of that is because these last batch of episodes that really let the side down. The journey through the initial 5 seasons of the Twilight Zone is over. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment below if you've seen any of these, and if you think I'm a bit harsh. You know, I don't really tend to be harsh on these things. I give everything the benefit of the doubt, but I do think these were weaker episodes. But let me know what you think, and I'm going to follow this with a video about the movie that came out in the 80s, Twilight Zone the movie, which I think is underrated. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and keep watching Twilight Zone. Go back to the classic bits, and stay curious. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Paint me a picture of what it's like to be you.